Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Welcome back to the Codex. My name is Jose, and today we're going to be talking about some comments that Donny Cates made regarding Venom: The Last Dance and how he's read the script and his thoughts on Knull, as well as just an idea on Knull, how powerful he is, and whether or not he's going to be a one-and-done villain, or if we're going to get him in a future project, whether it's Spider-Man 4 or a Venom 4. So some context before we dive into the topic at hand. On Thursday when the trailer dropped, Donny Cates put out a tweet with the inverted Venom logo, inverted-ish I guess, and all he said was LOL. Obviously this is in reference to them using Knull, a creation of his, in his movie. Now this obviously isn't the first time. If you're a fan of Spider-Man, you've obviously probably played Spider-Man 2 for the PS5. And in that game, in the second half of it, when Venom is the main antagonist, Venom wants to consume the world and fill it with symbiotes and whatever. But a lot of the scenery, imagery, and stuff comes directly from Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman's Venom run from 2018 and King in Black. For example, Venom having big wings obviously is not a thing until Donny Cates. Another thing is all the Venom or symbiote hordes that are in the game that you fight, the mindless drones, they all have the Knull swirl on their face, as well as the rock that Venom was looking for in the game has a swirl on it. Now, I know you could argue, oh, they made it for hire or whatever. They wrote the book. Now it's Marvel's. They own it technically. Yeah, but I still think it's scummy if they're not going to give at least credit or proper residuals to the creators, because if it wasn't for Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman, and many more, we wouldn't have the seminal King in Black amazing run that we had, right? So I believe it's more proper to give credit where credit's due and money as well. Now, this got picked up by a couple outlets, and I would just want to focus on the IGN one, at least for their headline usage. Basically, what they said was, Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, the co-creators of Marvel villain Knull, learned the God of Symbiotes would be in Venom: The Last Dance when everyone else did during this week's trailer reveal. Now they're cheekily asking for compensation. Now, I guess if you want to read into cheekily, you could probably just say hey, this is a little funny. The whole money logo thing is pretty funny and a little sarcastic in a way, right? So maybe that's what they mean. But I don't know if cheekily was the right word to use in this sentence, because if you want an artist to get compensation, I don't know if you'd want to use cheekily. So that's the context on the situation. Obviously, Donny Cates should get paid what's due to him and Ryan Stegman as well. Okay, so let's look at the first comment that he said. Okay, bottom line, I turned 40 today, and there's a movie being made where a character that Ryan Stegman and I created is fighting a character Todd McFarlane created. And guess what? Everything else aside, nothing is going to rob me of thinking that's fucking rad. And honestly, kudos to him, because this is a very cool outlook to have on it. Because despite everything, I get that you want to be compensated and everything, but at the end of the day too, there is a part of you that is thinking, wow, this is really cool. I get to see my creation on the big screen. Now, is that version of him going to live up to the version that you created? Funny enough you say that, because he also had a follow-up post. Also, I've been talking with Sony and I read a script for Venom: The Last Dance, and I'll say this, it is so much bigger and so much more ambitious than you can imagine. And Knull, holy shit, that's how you treat a king. Happy birthday to me. See you at New York Comic Con. Honestly, this right here to me. Now, let's look at this the pessimistic way. Sony and him have been talking. Maybe they paid the buddy. They finally gave him a big enough check, and him and hopefully Ryan Stegman and everyone else involved. Maybe they finally gave him where credit's due, and maybe he's just saying this. However, I like to believe in the better of people, and I just think he truly thinks that they successfully portrayed Knull in the movie, because that's how you treat a king is a very, very big statement. So I'm very excited to see, and cautiously optimistic to see how they treat Knull. But if the creator is saying that they treated him properly, then I'm excited. It is important to note that it is said that he said I read a script, not the final script or something, right? So this could be an older version, or maybe the version that they used, and maybe there's obviously tweaks that happen when you're filming, so who knows. But all in all, this is a very big vote of confidence for the version of Knull we're about to see on screen. And obviously, we don't know who plays him yet, so that's exciting to see. Okay, so let's dive into the second half of the video, where we're going to talk about how powerful Knull is in the comics, and how if he's going to be nerfed in the films, if at all. Now, in the comics, Knull is a very powerful being. Obviously, in the Origins, which if you want to check that out, make sure you check out my last video, He decapitated a Celestial with one swing of his sword, which wasn't even like tempered or anything. It was just a pure raw sword. As well as his invasion of Earth, he basically could fight the Avengers. They're all nothing to him. The only people that can actually put up a fight against him are people of light, or warriors of light, if you want to call it like something from like Final Fantasy, basically. Characters like Thor, Storm can actually put up a fight. You can obviously bring up Sentry, but and obviously the Silver Surfer does appear later to help fight, or to help guide in the Enigma Force to go find its host, right? Obviously, Knull is a very powerful being that you would think, okay, so how are they going to defeat him in the movie? Or if he's going to be defeated or shown that much at all. So, judging by Donny Cates' words, it looks like Knull is going to live up to the hype. Now, I want to pull focus onto the 2018 Venom run, issue number 6 specifically, which is what I feel like we're going to lean into, in my opinion. Obviously, they have the xenophages in the movie, but I want to lean into the whole like Venom combining with Rex thing, because in this issue, this is just Venom and Rex with a ton of like artillery and stuff. This isn't Warrior, God of Light, Venom, Eddie. This is just Eddie and Rex combined with a ton of weaponry, right? Which is obviously very cool looking. So in this issue, they are basically trying to defend themselves or actively attack the Grendel before it can grab Rex later on, because obviously it needs Rex, since it was a former part of the Grendel, to complete itself to then go rescue or get Knull out of prison. So they end up calling the dragon over, and they actually just fight it. They fight it and they blow it up, and it's a very cool issue. Make sure you guys check out the 2018 run. It's so good with the art and everything. But they end up fighting the dragon, and it's very cool, to the point where they blow up the dragon, and then Knull appears, his like avatar appears, and Eddie here separates himself from the symbiote and wraps Knull in it, and basically laces all the symbiote parts with grenades, and it's strong enough that it actively shocks and fries Knull at home, back in his prison. It's actually a very cool way for Eddie to actively fight against a god by himself. I guess you can argue he's not by himself, but you know, there's no other Marvel hero here to help him. So this is a very cool fight, and I think this is what they're probably going to be leaning into when it comes to the actual film, because this is a good moment. He defeats it, or at least he thinks he does, right? But this is good enough where it feels like an active fight, but it's not the actual god himself, right? Because obviously later on in the King in Black story, Knull kills Eddie like 2 or 3 times. I feel like throughout the story, Knull kills Eddie like 2 or 3 times or something. Like, he's a very powerful enemy, right? So I think they're going to be taking a lot of inspiration maybe from the early pages of the Venom run. I don't know if we'll get the Venom Dragon or the, the Grendel or anything like that, but I do think we're probably going to get inspiration from this fight specifically, because it's Eddie with tactics and military weapons and stuff like that, rather than, other Avengers and primordial like powers like the Enigma Force and all that stuff, right? So I think that's a really cool way for them to go with it, at least story-wise. And a little fun fact too, in King in Black, the issue number 1, it's funny because we called the Venom The Last Dance, and I was like, oh, I wonder what that means and whatever. But obviously it's been a while since I read the King in Black story. But if you read it right here, when Knull's already invading Earth, he took out Sentry, he's pretty much winning. Eddie decides, okay, we may as well just call him to us, and then we'll fight him, right? Or we'll do what we can. And then here we go. It says, no matter what happens, wanted to make sure you knew yeah. And then Eddie goes, I know. And then they both say, or he says, last dance, partner. You ready? Yes, Eddie. All right, then. And then we get this epic, let's go meet our maker at the end, right? So obviously, maybe another thing is that they're probably taking inspiration from this thing, which obviously it might as well have been staring us right in the damn face this entire time when you obviously think about it, right? So yeah, another hint or another cool moment. So I think this is really cool all in all for Venom The Last Dance. Now the final part of the video, I just want to talk about like some rumors or some speculation that Knull won't die here, but he might appear in Spider-Man 4. I am kind of split on that, because while I would love for the Venom and Spidey team up to finally happen, and for Venom to finally get a symbiote, like the white symbol and everything, I am of the mind that Knull is all in parts a Venom villain. There's to the point, funny enough, where obviously Peter is part of the Venom, the whole King of Black storyline, and he's fighting symbiotes. But it's funny because Miles Morales was the first one to meet Knull. Like, him and Eddie were the ones, not Peter. So, in my opinion, I don't know if I'm fully on board with him being a Spider-Man 4 villain, if they're going to do the multiversal Venom and Spider-Man team up against Knull. Because the King in Black story, the Venom 2018 run, it is a Venom and Eddie Brock story, first and foremost. It has a ton of great action, a ton of great moments, and great art and actions, set pieces, and all that stuff. But all in all, it is Eddie Brock's story and journey from, he was silencing the Venom symbiote, or the symbiote in general, with pills. He didn't want to hear it. He had to come to terms with his own abusive past, his trauma, his kid. All of this stuff is even his own, self-reflection on when he sees Flash Thompson, because he thinks of himself as lesser compared to Flash. And Flash even gives him that vote of confidence, like, no, Eddie, you're a hero now. So it is a massive, fantastic journey that Eddie has. And obviously they can't do that in a movie, so that's why I'm kind of 50-50 if the rumors are to be believed that apparently that he's going to be in Spider-Man 4. I personally probably wouldn't like that unless they made Eddie the focus, but then they should just name it Venom 4 or Venom and Spider-Man, right? So we'll see how that turns out. Obviously, Spider-Man was part of the Absolute Carnage stuff, but that's an entirely different thing. But yeah, all that being said, hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Would greatly appreciate it. Also, leave a comment down below. Do you think Knull's going to be nerfed? Do you think he's going to be safe for Spider-Man 4, another future movie? Who knows? Is he going to be in the MCU? Because obviously they teased the Necro Sword, or it was in Thor: Love and Thunder, but obviously it got destroyed. But we could all just, hand wave that and say that that wasn't the real one, right? So all that being said, hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.